主席とプーチン大統領の会談について、マッカーシー議長は次のように述べました。世界は今、中国、ロシア、北朝鮮、イラン、ヒトラー、ムッソリーニが日本からなる悪の枢軸のように行動し、1930年代のような状態になっています。詳しくは VTR をご覧ください。
President Xi Jinping is meeting today once again with Russian President Vladimir Putin. What sign does this tell you? Number one. And number two, how do you stop China's influence with programs like the Thousand Talents Program, Confucius Institute, here in the United States on university campuses and at our labs, taking that information back to China to be used in the government and for military purposes?
Great question. I'm going to start, and then I'm going to turn to Ashley too, because this is exactly what this committee would be looking at. But your first premise of your question, think about it. President Xi has only left China twice since the pandemic, and both times revolved around Putin, Russia. The other time was North Korea and Iran. That's a very, very concerning future. For those who study history, it seems a little like the 1930s and the axis of power of individuals creating. These are not democracies, but what are they fighting? They talk about a new world order. You look at Putin, who no longer respects the Russian constitution and the term limits of president. You watch President Xi change his constitution so he can serve another term. You've watched his advocates of taking Taiwan. You watch North Korea now. All that transpires because there's a vacuum of leadership around the world. And why did this begin? Well, the pivot, a couple different places. When Joe Biden met with Putin, and he lifted all the sanctions off Nord Stream 2, it gave the wrong message to Putin to invade Ukraine. When President Biden didn't listen to our military, and he pulled out without telling even our allies, and the Bagram prison broke free, and the prisoner actually killed 13 Americans, creating new 13 Gold Star families, and Afghanistan collapsed. We watched our own allies pivot. The new chancellor of Germany goes to meet with President Xi. Saudi Arabia believes they need a greater relationship now with China based upon America. Now we've watched, not only during Obama's time bringing Russia back into the Middle East, now Biden has brought China into the Middle East, where now they're brokering a deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran. That used to be America. That used to happen at Camp David. So the world scares me where it is. And why do they think they can do this? Because there became a void of leadership, of strength, of questioning the commitment of America, or they can trust us. And an underlying place of all that is the energy policy of America. It gave Russia an opportunity to open up. It gave them a bound together of why to strive. And so that's a real concern. That's one of the bases of where the whole premise of a select committee on China came was on the 75th anniversary of Normandy. I was walking the gravestones. Nancy Pelosi was there as well, and I've looked at all those young men from the Star of David to the cross, all about the same age, all dying around the same time, and wondering at that moment, what could the lawmakers have done? The policymakers, not the week before, but the decade before that day would never have to come. What should they have done when they first saw Hitler, Mussolini, and Japan getting together? What policies should they have prepared for ahead of time? What dependencies did they become weak upon? What aggression did they look the other way on building up a military of Hitler, even though it went against the Treaty of Versailles? Or the movement in of Czechoslovakia and Austria? Or the movement into Crimea? Or desire to take Taiwan? So, walking through the pandemic, thinking about where was America waking up to medical supplies? What dependencies do we have for resupplying when it comes to critical minerals? What about our own food supply? That was the premise of why we created the Select Committee.